So the question many people have been asking, and the searches that we've seen on the BBC News website really fundamentally underline the fact that people want to know a little bit more about who the Houthis are and what exactly it is they want. Well, to answer some of these questions, let's cross live now to Dr. Elisabeth Kendall, specialist on Yemen and Middle East at the University of Cambridge. It's so good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us. And let me ask you first of all, who are the Houthis?
The Houthis are a grouping that emerged in the north of Yemen. They are not just a tribe, although they're named after their former leader, Hussein al-Houthi, who was killed in 2004, and they're currently led by one of his brothers, Abdul Malik al-Houthi. But fundamentally, they're a religious, political and a military grouping, all at the same time. Now, religion does play an important part in the formation of their identity politics. They are a Shi'i-based group, but they do extend beyond that. And also worth pointing out that the brand of their Shi'ism, Zaydism, is different from that in Iran. And they've been mobilizing now ever since the late 1980s. But what's important to point out is that over the last 9 years of the civil war in Yemen, they've grown ever closer to Iran and adopted ever more Iran's kinds of slogans and symbols. And that's probably quite important in this current battle.
So let's talk a little bit about, how developed they are. Would one call them a fully fledged government or organisation as yet?
Well, they control territory in Yemen now in which about 2/3 of the population lives. So that's about 20 million people living in Houthi-controlled areas. So this is no small group. Now, to call them a government, you could. They don't exactly rule by consensus. They have quite supremacist views in which they believe that they have a divine authority, a right to rule as direct descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, as they position themselves. This is the Houthi family. So not exactly a recipe for a power-sharing solution in Yemen itself. But they do have power. They do now have resources from Iran. They are battle-hardened, and they certainly shouldn't be underestimated.
So why is it that we're seeing these attacks happening now? Because up until now, we've seen what the Houthis have been doing really concentrated on Yemen, perhaps a little bit on Saudi Arabia, UAE. Why is this now happening in the Red Sea region?
Well, we need to take them at least to some degree at face value. I do believe that ideologically the Houthis think that they are defending Palestinians against the might of Israel, America and their allies. But of course, there's also a little skepticism about this. It works very well for them politically too at the same time. Their motives are domestic, they're regional, and they're international. Domestically, they can now position themselves as the hero, as those who are defending the Palestinians who nobody else appears around the Arab world, at least, to be able to defend or to speak out against America. And that wins them support at a time when their base is probably quite tired after nearly a decade of civil war. And also regionally, it wins them leverage in the ongoing talks with Saudi Arabia as Saudi tries to negotiate its own exit from the civil war in Yemen. And internationally, well, they gain maximum publicity for Palestine, for themselves, and they ensure that the rest of the world feels some kind of consequence from Israel's actions in Gaza. And perhaps we should also add that it occupies the bandwidth of Israel, America and their allies in a way that's quite helpful for Iran as it mobilizes other elements in its so-called axis of resistance.
OK, Dr. Elisabeth Kendall, thank you so much for your expert analysis. Thank you.
You're welcome.